The war between the Ethiopian government and its allies against Tigray, one of its northern states, has led to a humanitarian crisis. Tigray was an environmental success story, but the war is undoing decades of regreening. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or the TPLF, have been at loggerheads since 2020. Now, after over 2 years of the war, leaving millions displaced and thousands dead, both parties have asserted their desire for peaceful negotiations to find an end to the conflict. But how did the civil war begin? Let's find out.
It was the exodus that exposed a hidden evil that was brewing at Ethiopia's heart. A community that claimed to have been forsaken was now avenging, and its people bore the brunt of the anger. To understand the conflict in Africa's second most populous nation, one has to go back in history. Tigrayans make up only around 7% of the nation's population. A group called the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF, has maintained wide-scale control of the Ethiopian government since 1991. Created as a rebel militia group in the 1970s, TPLF later became the dominating political leadership group. Through the leadership of TPLF, supported by Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, Ethiopia experienced significant economic development and stability. In 2018, this long-running political domination of the TPLF came to an end with the election of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Despite being a former TPLF officer himself, Abiy quickly removed Tigrayan officials from office, charging some with corruption or human rights abuses in order to justify his extermination of the existing government. After postponing Ethiopia's 2020 elections and extending his own presidency under the guise of the COVID-19 pandemic, the TPLF had had enough. A month later, Tigray leaders rebelled against Abiy's orders and held regional elections in September, warning that they would consider any federal intervention by Abiy or his government as a declaration of war.
The story that the population inherits is vehemently opposed to us. This is absolutely overstated. The claim that Addis will turn to a bloodbath if we enter Addis is absolutely ridiculous.
Ethiopia will not collapse. Ethiopia will prosper. Ethiopia will forever exist with her honor by defeating all who test her through the blood and bones of her children.
Outraged, Abiy and his cabinet accused the TPLF of attacking a military camp and declared a state of emergency, deploying troops to the capital of Tigray, Mekelle, to target TPLF leaders, officially starting the Tigray war. Since the deployment of troops to Mekelle in 2020, countless people lost their lives and numerous human rights violations took place on both sides. The war restricted humanitarian aid efforts severely, resulting in less than 10% of aid sent to the Tigray region making it through the Ethiopian government's blockades.
The violations we have identified may amount to crimes against humanity or war crimes and a number of other violations, but not genocide.
It is time for all parties to recognize that there is no military solution. And it's vital to preserve the unity and stability of Ethiopia, which is critical to the region and beyond.
In addition to these human rights violations, the Tigray war created a massive refugee crisis, forcing over 2 million people out of their homes during the 16-month-long conflict. Only exacerbating this refugee crisis is widespread man-made famine. By intentionally destroying seeds and crops and preventing farmers from planting, the Ethiopian government has created a famine unlike any in the world. A staggering 5.2 million people in northern Ethiopia alone are facing serious starvation and lack of basic necessities. The WHO chief once said that the situation in Tigray is hell. It seems the flames in that hell are dying down. There is some hope, as in March, Tigrayan rebels agreed to a cessation of hostilities, a new turning point in the nearly 17-month war in northern Ethiopia, following the government's announcement of an indefinite humanitarian truce.
The government's decision is good because the people are starving there, and it will also improve the cost of living in our country. It's the right decision both economically and socially.
We didn't see any change until now. The consequences of the war is chaos, destruction and starvation right from the beginning. We have relatives here and there.
There is still a deadlock over how the peace negotiations will be done and where they will be conducted. Both government and Tigray forces are in limbo at finding a solution, but remain hopeful that the talks will happen. Although these actions by no means guarantee peaceful end to the Tigray war, they prove a step in the right direction towards peace.